The company who are redeveloping the Cambridge's rundown Kite area are fighting to buy the last remaining property which stands in the way of the scheme, and they've made an offer far in excess of its real value. The property, 56 Fitzroy Street, was bought for just over £10,000 2 years ago by 4 people who oppose the redevelopment. They've since refused to sell the property to the company Grosvenor Estates, who've now offered them £26,000 for it, which they admit is substantially more than it's worth. Grosvenor say that if their final offer is refused, a compulsory purchase order will be made on the property. Meanwhile, another Kite resident has driven a very hard bargain with Grosvenor, as Greg Barnes explains.
At 79, Arthur Sutton's the oldest resident of the Kite area, but he was still determined to fight the large development company that wants to bulldoze his home. The developers, Grosvenor, tried every form of persuasion to get Arthur to sell up, but he refused all appeals, including an offer of £32,000 for the house. He only agreed to move when Grosvenor offered to build him a new house to his personal specifications, specifications which include 2 bathrooms.
Are you pleased with what you've achieved?
Well, I'm sort of feeling dubious, because there's been political party games all the way through, and it puts you in doubt whether it's wrong or whether it's right. So I'll believe it when I see it.
Not many people can claim to have had a new house built specially for them.
No, I should think I ought to go in the Guinness Book of Records.
Arthur's new 3-bedroomed house will be built only yards from his present one, on a piece of land which is just outside the development area. It'll be worth about £40,000, £8,000 more than his old home. But Arthur still wasn't content. He also managed to talk those slick city gents into paying him an extra £1,200 in compensation for having to move at all.
Well, for the first time in its history, the annual Methodist Conference is being held
Of the multi-million-pound shopping development currently underway in the Kite area of Cambridge. It's designed to show locals what the shopping complex will look like when it's finished in 1983. As well as artists' impressions, there will be up-to-date information on the progress of building work. The complex, which will be called the Grafton Centre, will include a department store, smaller shops in a covered mall, and parking space for more than 1,000 cars. It's expected that the centre will provide jobs for around 1,500 people.
The £50 million shopping complex for the Kite area of Cambridge has caused much controversy over the years. Now the project's finally underway. The developers have taken the first step towards winning over the remaining critics by opening an information shop. John Kitty has the details.
The information centre itself is in fact a tiny part of the whole £15 million development. Anyone wanting to know what's going on will be encouraged to come along and ask the developers. By late in 1983, most of this street will have been completely rebuilt into a complex containing shops, a department store and 40 houses. A few existing features are to remain, such as the chapel, which will form an entrance to the main covered area. In front there'll be a paved square where now there is traffic. New Square, which has been a car park for many years, will once again return to its original state. This artist's impression shows how the square might look when the development is finished. A scale model has been put together to show how the car parking problems for shoppers will be overcome by using the roof space over some of the new buildings. It's taken 3 years so far to get the Grafton Centre from the drawing board to building site. Work finally started on the foundations on Friday. So why has it taken so long? Dick de Brokert is one of the developers.
Well, I think in Cambridge nothing is easy for a start in planning terms, and rightly so. I think it's a historic town that needs to be looked at very carefully. This particular one has taken perhaps longer than most, but it's a big scheme, it's a big development and deserves a lot of attention.
I imagine your critics might well say that your information centre is simply a publicity stunt, a public relations exercise.
It's a public relations exercise, all right, certainly. Publicity stunt, no. What we're trying to do is make sure that the people locally who are going to be affected by a major scheme of this nature are properly informed of what's going on. No more than that.
And what information will you be offering them?
We'll be telling them of how the development is getting on, what is happening in the areas surrounding the development, which is, I think, of particular interest to the people living around here. And the City Council have got general improvement areas scheduled for this part of the world, and therefore they want to know what's happening to their house, to their home.
The idea of redeveloping this area was first put forward no less than 20 years ago. And since then there have been sporadic campaigns against any fundamental change in the character of the Kite, so-called because it forms a triangle of shops and houses on the edge of Cambridge city centre. The main objection was that there weren't enough small shops and houses in the development. However, it is now going ahead, and the objectors will have to wait and see if their fears about the Kite are indeed justified. One immediate benefit will be to the dole queues. 1,500 jobs will be created by the time the centre opens in 2 years from now.
John Kiddie reporting from Cambridge. Now a final look at tonight's regional.
An attempt to ease the blight affecting one of Cambridge's best-known shopping areas was launched today. It's a park and ride scheme intended to bring shoppers into the Kite district, which is undergoing a £15 million redevelopment. And as John Kiddie tells us, it's this building work which has led to the scheme being introduced.
Even before the present redevelopment began, shops in the Kite were suffering. Fewer customers were coming to the area, and until the new complex is finished, traders wanted some incentive to bring shoppers back here. It was a bleak prospect, as the chairman of the Kite Traders Association explains.
I would imagine the customer flow must have dropped off by probably 2/3. Must have done.
So how have people managed to survive even so far?
By working very hard. Many of us have shed staff to a limited extent. We're carving prices. There's nearly a permanent sale on. But it's very, very, very hard work indeed.
Presumably the park and ride is designed to bring you up to a level of customers where you can survive.
It was hoped that it would bring some extra people to the area, and we thought as an experiment that to try it for a month would be worthwhile.
But why don't you try and get more parking space, which obviously would help to get more driving customers in?
Well, it's much easier said than done. We are working with the developers. We shall get as much land as possible set aside for parking, but they propose to carry on a very large part of the scheme all at the same time. So there won't be much spare land.
It's against that background that the park and ride was introduced. To and from a car park on the edge of town at 25 pence a time and costing £500 a week, the City Council is subsidising it for an experimental period of 4 weeks. The traders are also paying £100 a week towards the costs. But what chance of success?
We're doubtful whether it will succeed, but the experiment is designed to test the market. And,
what are your doubts?
Well, I don't think the demand is there, personally.
Why should that be?
There isn't sufficient lack of parking space in the area generally to force people to use the cattle market, which they do on a Saturday when parking is at a premium.
And yet, of course, your main park and ride system into the centre of Cambridge is very successful.
That's correct, yes. That's on a Saturday when there's little parking space about.
There are parking meters in the area and a car park nearby. The question to be answered, though, is whether indeed there are enough spaces here to cope with all those people who might want to shop in the Kite, but who are put off by the problem of parking. As well as City Council officials, a few traders in the Kite itself have expressed doubts about whether the park and ride system will indeed be a success. And judging from the poor response so far, it looks as if many of their fears may be justified.
Park and ride?